Now, for those of you who haven't heard of Qatar potentially, or who don't know how it might impact them back home in the United Kingdom, you'd be surprised to learn that they're one of the biggest investors into the UK, and that is into universities, into our businesses. British Airways, for example, or the Ritz Hotel. Of course, we've heard of their investment into Harrods, but this is seriously influencing the way that British nationals view Qatar. The fact is, we're traveling through Qatar to Australia and to Asian destinations and viewing it as a potential tourist destination or a stopover hub. And that means that we're exiting the plane and entering their jurisdiction and having to abide by their laws. Now, that's okay, except when Qatar authorities themselves don't abide by their laws, as we've seen recently when authorities in Qatar strip-searched passengers on board a flight from Doha to Sydney. Now, Qatar authorities have since apologised and said that they didn't follow protocol and that it was a mistake. However, these kind of mistakes are a little bit too common in Qatar. We're also here today to talk about Conor Howard, who's a Scottish national. He was on holidays in Greece recently with his family, and he was arrested and subject to extradition proceedings. Qatar itself wanted to extradite him after he was pulled over en route from Australia back to the United Kingdom, and authorities took from him a herb grinder, which they deemed to be contraband because it could be used for marijuana. Now, they didn't make a huge deal of it. They confiscated the item and let him continue on to travel home to Scotland, and he thought nothing more of the incident until his arrest in Greece. Authorities in Qatar had actually put him on Interpol, which again is another mistake. And Qatar's having too many mistakes. With FIFA 2022 coming up, and certainly the country trying to attract our best engineers, our best skilled labour into the country to develop it so that it can compete on a tourism and development level along with Dubai. So we're going to see more and more people visiting Qatar and visiting for holidays, tourism, and also becoming expats there. As we're attracted there, we're offered high paid salaries potentially, or business opportunities for people in the construction industry, as we know with a couple of other cases that I've been dealing with, the case of Ranald Crook, Jonathan Nash, and Joseph Sarlach. Again, British and Australian nationals who are being abused by the legal process in Qatar. Conor Howard has another hearing on the 4th of November, so that's Wednesday, where Greek courts are going to determine what to do with Qatar's extradition request. The problem that I have seen with Qatar is that they have been a continuous, repeated abuser of Interpol's Red Notice database, placing people wrongfully on the database for the purpose of either extortion, harassment, or for civil matters, for debts, so that banks can use Interpol as a debt collection agency. And this is certainly not what the Interpol Red Notice system is for. It should be for terrorists, for murderers. This is, and serious drug, organised crime, that kind of thing. It should not be used by Qatari banks over a £5,000 credit card bill, but they are being misused in this fashion. Now, Qatar has requested the extradition of Conor Howard, who they had in their custody, and allowed to proceed back to Scotland. So why are they asking for his extradition now? And what should Greek authorities do about it? Well, absolutely, the Greek courts need to say no to this extradition. They should have already released Conor Howard, and he should have been free to return to Scotland, simply on the basis that Qatar's repeated abuse of the Interpol Red Notice system means that European citizens, British citizens, are being unfairly detained on the basis of red notices that should never have been issued in the first place. There's no route to compensation from Interpol for these victims of Qatar red notices. And in fact, Interpol themselves should be suspending Qatar from the red notice system for repeat abuse. But unfortunately, their donations to Interpol are just far too attractive for Interpol to consider denying them access to the database. So long as they are permitted access to the Red Notice system, they will continue to abuse it. We've had British nationals arrested in the UK, in Mallorca, and other European countries on the basis of frivolous notices that were later cancelled. So this is a very important case, Conor Howard. Greek courts need to be advised that this should never have happened in the first place, and they need to implement a system that would see them not detain people in the first instance when the red notice is coming from countries that we shouldn't really trust, like Qatar, Saudi, the UAE, Turkey, Russia, China. When it comes to red notices, we should not take an arrest first and ask questions later attitude, because this is what sees people like Robert Irwin locked up in Ukraine for 11 months, or more than 11 months, in fact, more than a year, on the basis of, again, a frivolous red notice. This never should have happened. We've seen Alan Stevenson detained in Prague for several months on the basis of a frivolous red notice. So this is essentially the Middle East using the Red Notice database as an extension of their powers of arrest in Europe. And we're eventually finding out that these red notices should not have been issued in the first place, that these people never should have been in prison. So this is something that Europe needs to make a stance on, needs to sort of standardize their response to red notices coming from countries that we simply can't trust. So we're working with Conor Howard. I've already advised Greece that we will be contesting the extradition on the basis of a lack of dual criminality, but also the potential for his human rights to be violated in the event that he was extradited to Qatar. So we hope that Greek authorities will release Conor Howard and allow him to travel back to Scotland, and that the red notice then will ultimately be cancelled and him free to travel again. But Qatar absolutely needs to stop this repeated abuse of the Interpol Red Notice data.